This is working. I almost have to burp. Okay, I do have to burp. Sounds pretty low. We go through the same routine almost every time. Hello, is this working? Alright. Sounds like it's working. Should be working. If it is, we're here for Shooting the Breeze, episode number 43, NFL Week 5 predictions. We also have some wrestling notes, as we have a big week in the wrestling industry. We have a big month, I guess we could say, as October has already started. So we're here on Fall Guys once again. Always have a lot of. It's always it always makes Shooting the Breeze a lot more interesting. I can't say I always have fun because sometimes we have some bull crap along the way, but we're going to continue it as here we go. So, NFL Week 5 predictions. Week 4, we went 10-16, which I'd say hooray to, but in Week 2, we also went 10-16, so it's nothing, that dramatic. We went 8-16, 10-16, 7-16, 10-16. So it'll be a while before we get to the 16-game matchup because this is the first week with buys. Teams on their bye week consist of the Detroit Lions, Los Angeles Chargers, Philadelphia Eagles, and Tennessee Titans. But nonetheless, we do have a pretty loaded NFL slate. Starting off, Thursday Night Football, NFC South matchup. Our first, I could genuinely say exciting. Oh, it should be exciting Thursday Night Football matchup with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Atlanta Falcons. Okay, let's concentrate right here. I think, again, this should be a good game. This potentially is a coin flip game that I think I'm going to give the edge to the Buccaneers in this matchup. But I would not be that surprised if the Falcons won. So I'm trying not to screw this up. But I do know what our next matchup is. It's a London matchup. Our first of the London games. This one, another pretty exciting matchup of the New York Jets versus the Minnesota Vikings. I almost said at the Vikings. Again, with this being in London, I don't think that really qualifies. As much as I'd like to see the Jets win, because we don't really need the Vikings staying undefeated all season. The Vikings are... I don't think they'll finish their season undefeated. Like I said, the Jets hit a rough patch in Week 4 that I don't know if they'll really be able to overcome it in this matchup. But because I am rooting for them, I'm going to go with the Jets. I might be wrong with that sentiment. I think a lot of people are going to end up picking the Vikings in this game. But it'll be a wait and see. As our first two of the noon slate, probably the biggest two noon slate games. First one being the Baltimore Ravens at the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals finally got a win last week, which if they couldn't beat the Panthers, like I said, completely throw the season away. Now, I'm not going to say that every game is must win for them, but they should probably be going into every game with that sentiment and approach. The Ravens finally have some momentum on their side with 2 straight victories. Okay, we got in. We were the last in. I think second to last in. This is a difficult... like I said, these first 2 noon games are difficult to predict. I'm going to go with the Ravens. Like I said, they really are starting to get the ball rolling. I'm going to stick with the Ravens. This next one, the Buffalo Bills versus the Houston Texans, should be an exciting matchup. I could see this being a high-scoring matchup. The Stephon Diggs revenge game for both sides. I did not realize that the breakup and departure of Stephon Diggs was way more toxic than I expected, because during the play, it was, I would say, like the last month of last season. That's when, like, he wasn't getting as many catches and touches and passes thrown towards him, and they were winning games, and so everybody kind of was starting to come up with a sentiment that he wasn't, and I put this in quotations, but like wasn't really needed there, and so it made sense for them to move on, and then they did, and it's somewhat of an issue now. I don't know. It is what it is. I think I'm going to go with the Texans to win this matchup. The Bills they've both started the season off pretty good, but it seems like a matchup that the Texans should take, but will be a complicated matchup nonetheless. Indianapolis Colts at the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know, historically, the Colts have struggled in Jacksonville. But looking at how Jacksonville has started their season off, I think this is the time that I could see that changing. So I'm picking the Colts. It would be hilarious. Hey, what is this mother? You gotta watch out for that person. So I'm trying to pick my mustache, jump, and write down I have the Colts. But I'm gonna pick the Colts. Like I said, historically has been a struggle for them at Jacksonville, but just looking at how Jacksonville has performed this season, there is any time for that to change, it should be now. So I'm picking the Colts. Next matchup is the Carolina Panthers at the Chicago Bears. I don't want to go too wild and pick the Panthers. I'd like for the Panthers to win, but I don't really see that happen, so I'll stick with the Bears. I don't know how many weeks I've actually picked the Bears in their matchups, but I definitely, week 1 I didn't. Week 2 I didn't. This is the first time I think I've picked the Bears this season in a game, so maybe I'm wrong this week, and then I've had a reason to be right in all the other matchups. As you can tell, we're trying to stay focused right here. The next matchup, I think, is Dolphins at Patriots, which will be a probably ugly matchup. Oh, I won! And we gotta win. We gotta win. We still got a long ways to go. We finally gotta win on one of these. So, I think I'm gonna go with the Dolphins. The Dolphins really have struggled since Tua's injury, which you would expect. And I haven't wrote in a marker. If there's any week for the Patriots to get a win, I could see it being this week. So I'm going to be the wild one and pick the Patriots. As much as I'd like to see the Dolphins get back to playing their style of football, it might be a little bit broken and too late for that to happen. But I'm going to pick the Patriots. Cleveland Browns at the Washington Commanders. Las Vegas Raiders at the Denver Broncos. The reason I am combining these two teams is because last week it was Browns at Raiders. And I came to the conclusion / notice that whenever I choose against those two teams, opposite things happen. So what I mean by that is I picked the Browns against the Cowboys and the Giants. Who did they beat? Because they definitely won a game. Whoever they faced and they won, I picked against them. And the same case has been with the Raiders. When I have picked them to win, they have looked like a horrible team. When I picked against them, which was against the Ravens, they won and looked like a somewhat decent team. So last week was kind of, I'm not going to say it can't really be the culmination of that because there's only week 4, but it was the litmus test because the Browns looked horrible and the Raiders look somewhat decent, aka they won the game. So it is a danged if you do, danged if you don't situation with these two teams. For the sake of Browns at Commanders, the Commanders are kind of the pop-off team right now. Everyone is excited by watching Jaden Daniels play football, which is understandable. The team is winning games, so it's understandable to have that sentiment. And I think this is another matchup that they could win. So I'm going to pick the Commanders. Raiders at Broncos. This normally would be a matchup I'd pick the Raiders, but also, as the time of filming, Devontae Adams is still on the team, but there's a chance that by the time we get to this matchup, he isn't. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole Devontae Adams trade saga because I feel a trade is inevitable. I will say I would love to see him back in Green Bay, but there is apparently a long list of teams that are looking to trade for him, so we'll have to see what happens there, but the Broncos are also wearing their retro jerseys, so I'm going to pick Denver in this matchup. As next game is Cardinals at 49ers. I want to pick the Cardinals, but it seems that they have kind of come back to earth after their I just combined both words. Hot start. You know what? Heart. Combine the words, like I said. But after their hot start, they've kind of came down to earth a little bit. Like I said, I'd like to pick them, but there's no real reason to pick them besides not wanting to see the 49ers win. So this will be the test. If we get eliminated, I'll pick the 49ers. If we don't, I'll pick the Cardinals. So we got 2 spots left. I don't know what that next matchup is. As we did not. Oh, we came close. So we're in a weird spot because we can't really go this way without getting eliminated. And if we go closer over here, that ball's probably going to explode near us. As someone just fell through the cracks over there. Okay, so we're going to pick the Cardinals. Screw it. Like I said, we don't really have any real reason besides just not wanting to see the 49ers win. To be fair, it feels like the 49ers have also been home every week. Because the one road game that they did have was against the Rams that was mostly 49er fans there. What happened week 2? Week 2, who did they face? Packers at Rams is next. Remember that. Week 2. Week 4, which was last week. Oh, my goodness. We'll have to go back, because this is a difficult one. Packers at Rams. I'm picking the Packers. I can't really comment on last week's game because I did not watch. I was not at home. I was doing a lot of things this past weekend, so I can't really comment on last week's game. Hopefully, Jordan Love feels better, and he did look cool in that Brett Favre jersey, but the moment that I saw it, I'm like, this is going to be chaotic nonetheless, and it kind of was. I'm going to pick the Packers, Never will change. As a course. There's got to be more somewhere. We've only held it for 2 seconds. See, look, I don't understand that I was holding on. Okay, we can't even get up here. So we're probably out. I'm out. All right, hold on. Yeah. Only one spot left. Yeah, we're out. Hold on. Y'all saw that. It said 8 of 9, and now it's 7 of 9. Now it's back to 8 of 9. We can't even get a hold of this one. There we go. It's probably too late, though. Yep. All right. Giants at Seahawks. There's no logic in picking the Giants, so I'm picking the Seahawks. Cowboys at Steelers will probably be an ugly game. It is our Sunday night football matchup. The Cowboys have had a tough schedule. I'm going to go with the Steelers. Screw it. Saints at Chiefs. Last NFL Week 5 matchup to predict before we get on to our wrestling notes. The Chiefs are undefeated on the road to a potential three-peat that I don't know anyone besides Kansas City fans want to see. And they have had nothing but ugly victories and chaos ensue after that, mainly via injuries. The Saints have had 2 dominant performances followed by 2 very close losses. So I'm going to root for the Saints this week. So much so that I'm actually going to predict them. I've picked against the Chiefs like every week except for last week. So we're going to continue that here, even though I very much expect the Chiefs to freaking win. Death taxes Chiefs. Dreaded run from it. Destiny still arrives. So now we're on to our wrestling notes. And I won't lie to y'all. A lot of complaining potentially is about to take place. Now, I wouldn't really say it's complaining. It's more so questioning things that happened. Now, I will say we will have our Bad Blood predictions on the channel this weekend. I'm extremely excited for Bad Blood. Mainly the Hell in the Cell match. But always enjoy watching WWE premium live events, so I can't really complain nonetheless. But we had our first episode of NXT on the CW, FKA UPN. I'd love it if they went back to being called UPN, but I doubt that happens anytime soon. And it was a good episode, but I think the best way that I can describe it is a premiere episode. It was very much an episode that if you were a new audience or you were somebody new tuning in, you were getting the main stories, main matches, main messages across. Where I was hoping we get some surprises and some debuts. And the one, technically 2 surprises we got was freaking not what I wanted. I think that's the best way to describe it. AEW was, because I'm going to link these 2 together mainly to talk about the first match, because I have a great comparison for both. But AEW was, congrats on the new TV deal, because it seems that a lot of people have been giving congratulations towards it. I'm not a hater or anything, but I'm still confused on if the AEW tape library will be on Max or not, because in the initial press, it didn't seem that way, but several reports have been going on saying, oh, it will be, so that is something that we're going to have to wait on. I very much want the tape library on there for personal enjoyment and for something else that I don't want to elude and tease too much with, but it starts with retro and ends with reviews. Pay-per-views at a discounted price is also something not that excited about, because I very much became accustomed to WWE and not having to pay for pay-per-views for the past 10 years and hate that for AEW, but somewhat understandable, even though I don't like it that much. Anything else on that front? So, Wrestle Dream is next Saturday, the 12th. Might be Sunday. Pretty sure it is Saturday. And I can compare it to AEW this time last year. That from like All Out to probably Full Gear is going to be a lot of chaos, better described as a blur. A lot of things are going to blend in, probably be forgettable, but something that we look down in the... Are they stream sniping? Something that we look down in the road later on and like enjoy. So like, for instance, this 5th anniversary show had 2 big time matchups, rematches, I guess is the better way to put it. And we're going to talk about it. Bro, why are they bullying me? So, going back to NXT and the Dynamite 5th anniversary, the main reason I'm trying to tie these 2 together is because I was going to describe them very much because the outcomes are very similar. The new debut signings, dream signings, Julia, Ricochet, going against dream opponents that have been dominant champions and you say carried the brands in the division that they have been in Will Ospreay and Roxanne Perez. And these big time matchups will more than likely have a rematch down the line, but this first initial matchup of each had a screw finish and a run-in that's going to lead to that eventual rematch, but kinda whimpered down this encounter. Rascals had a good and enjoyable street fight that will probably end their rivalry, that I'm intrigued to see what Wesley does next. I also feel they probably could have waited for this heel turn and rivalry to happen, because I kind of wanted to see the Rascals / MSK team up some more, but I'm not going to say it felt rushed, but I kind of wish they teamed more and then we got this rivalry, but it led to some good matches, so good matches and moments, so I can't really complain that much. AEW, we had, because I'm going to go back and forth, but AEW had the return of Jay White, which was much needed, which is also a great detail that his last matchup in AEW was against Hangman Page, so he's returning to get vengeance against him. So we'll see if and when they collide again, which I imagine they do. While also having the debut of Shelton Benjamin, as he's aligned with MVP once again. So it is good to see Shelton Benjamin in a spotlight once again. I will say this, and this could be taken as a hot take. It really shouldn't be, but the Hurt Business was around for like a year, and it was during the pandemic. It was during 2020 when a lot of people have went out of their way to say that they didn't watch wrestling, and mainly note they didn't watch WWE. So I'm not gonna say people are lying and didn't watch the Hurt Business. But if I'm not wrong, like I'll admit, I was not watching a lot of Raw in 2020. But with the Hurt Business, WWE screwed them over twice because they broke them up the first time around right before WrestleMania. And they had Bobby Lashley turn on Cedric and Shelton to like make him look more dominant and that he didn't need anybody. And then the fans came back later on around SummerSlam and they reunited the group just for Goldberg to beat them up and to look dominant. So, and then they did nothing really. They did, like, Shelton and Cedric still team, but like they weren't with Bobby and MVP. So essentially, again, what I'm trying to get at is like the Hurt Business on paper in the group sounds good. And if we're going that route in AEW, I hope that mistakes have been learned and changes could be made. And it's also, I kind of want to mention this now because I don't know any other time I'll get to mention it, because it's another MVP-led group that, as of right now, only Shelton is in this one. I think everyone has imagined that Bobby Lashley will be aligned at some point, you know. Don't want to read the room too much, but going back to MVP-led groups, the BDC, the Beatdown Clan, in Impact / TNA. I love that group. I think it was a more badass version of the Hurt Business. But the main thing that I'm wanting to mention is that they got screwed in the end because they brought in... This is an historic thing that I feel should be talked about more often that isn't. But they brought in Hernandez, who at the time was contracted by Lucha Underground. And Lucha Underground had some very screwed up contract situations that a lot of the talent there did not enjoy being a part of. And so Hernandez was still under contract, but went back to Impact, and they filmed like a month plus worth of content that they couldn't air because Lucha Underground was like threatening lawsuits and crap. And so, like I said, the BDC had like this whole angle that ended up having to be scrapped because of Hernandez. So I just wanted to reminisce about that because that was like kind of the last era of TNA that I watched. Because once they moved to Pop, I didn't have Pop. And so I didn't start watching back until they were streaming on Twitch. And then I've been on again, off again with them. So this potential of the Hurt Business. And essentially what I was trying to get at is like, we had a group very similar to this in TNA. It was popularized and made notice in WWE. Now there's a chance for it in AEW to get some redemption. So I'm going to hope that if it happens, we do get that redemption. Now the last thing to talk about are the main events of both NXT and AEW, which I'm not going to spend a lot of time on NXT because it is I can't even really say it's apples to oranges. It is so different. Trick Williams, Ethan Page, Bryan Danielson, Kazuchika Okada. You be the freaking judge. It's interesting that Trick is the champion because the NXT world title seems like so open, and I have really no clue what to expect for a new challenger or who the next challenger will be. That kind of has me intrigued to see what happens next. Okada Danielson. I know that the match announcement kind of caused... I'm not going to say... confusion was definitely there. Triggering was kind of there because of the Continental title stipulation being added to it. Logically speaking, in hindsight, they probably shouldn't have. Logically speaking, I feel they probably could have held this match off until next week for Title Tuesday instead of doing this match on a day's notice. But I'm not going to be the one to complain about Danielson and Okada on TV. So, it was a great match. I think the Wrestle Kingdom match was probably the best match, but all three are kind of close in same levels. So, it is what it is. I will say, this is where I haven't really complained that much in this section. I just kind of pointed out what happened in each section, so I haven't really complained much. Now, here's where the complaining and questioning actually starts. I'm not a big fan of this Moxley-Danielson build. More so, this new Blackpool Combat Club. Thing one, it's time for a name change. Can I move? Nope, we're out. We're immediately out. I don't know what the hell happened there. I think it's time for a name change. I wanted to see Danielson and Moxley again. That way, Danielson wins, which is not impossible. But a lot of people were expecting Moxley to win this matchup with Danielson. Because they've had 2 matches in AEW prior, and Moxley won both. I thought it was time for Danielson to win. I still, once we get to Wrestle Dream predictions, still am going to predict Danielson. I am still confused. I've been saying this for almost a year now, but more so now. I thought if Danielson lost... Alright, so Danielson, I thought, was going to go into semi-retirement. That's what he announced a year ago. But now, it's kind of been alluded and changed to, when I lose the world title, I'm retiring. Is that semi-retiring? Is that straight up retiring? Never, ever, ever? I've kind of learned in wrestling and history, it very rarely is retired forever. I, again, am mainly hinting at this now because I think there can go the route of Moxley and Danielson happening at Wrestle Dream, and it ended in a screw finish, and so Danielson feels the need and right to come back whenever he wants to redeem himself in that quality, which, again, is something that I'll talk more about Wrestle Dream predictions-wise. But going back to it, I'm not the biggest fan of this new Blackpool Combat Club. Again, I think it's time for a name change. I think they have something bigger planned for their group that they're saving. Hopefully, whatever that is, we can go ahead and get that ball rolling some more. The Wrestle Dream card is something. That is the best way. I could say very much just looking forward to the main event. As of right now, as of filming this, very just looking forward to the main event. They still have a week to do something about it. It again is insane that they built up these two big dream matches to happen on TV when the pay-per-view is right there. But this time or next week, Title Tuesday will probably be a big episode that they want to put a lot of attention towards because it's a different night of the week that they're going to be on, and it is a themed episode, which I'm happy they're bringing themed episodes back, but this one was inevitable because it's the anniversary show. Title Tuesday is a different day of the week. They had to do something to present it as something different. So we'll get to the Wrestle Dream stuff next week. Is there anything else of note? I think I'm looking forward to... I think next week's NXT will be better than this week's. We got Javon Evans, Randy Orton, tag team title match, Obafemi's competing, which having an episode at Miz TV was kind of, we kind of heard everything that we needed to from them prior to this, but they wanted to hold off the title match till next week, which is understandable. Title Tuesday... Again, I thought they probably should have done Okada Danielson there, but we already got it. The only match announced as of right now is Danielson and Yuta versus Pac and Claudio, which the fitting thing there is that literally everybody in that match are champions. And the thing that was funny about that is Yuta was cutting this promo where he's saying, "I'm my own man, I'll fight my own battles," and then immediately challenged two people to a tag match, so it kind of negated what he said, but that's just nitpicking. So I didn't really complain that much. I questioned more than I complained, which is more so my goal. The only thing I really complained about was the Blackpool Combat Club. Everything else, I just pointed out what actually happened with it. So don't think there's anything else really to talk about, as I've just been sitting in this lobby for several minutes because I didn't want to start a game, and I'm still pretty pissed how that last one ended. But we did get a win on this episode. Hopefully we go 13 for 13. I think we have 13 matchups this week in the NFL. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 14, which I could have done the math there because 4 teams are on their bye. So it is what there is. I'm going to scratch my nose because it is extremely itching. I wiped my mustache earlier, and it made my nose itch. So I'm going to do that, drink some water, enjoy the rest of my evening. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one because I am out for now. Bye-bye.